Greetings and salutations. The only way today, right, is World Book Day. So I am channeling my inner Ernest Hemingway.
You've written a book, haven't you, Ross?
I have indeed.
I own your book.
You have my book. You might be in my next book.
Amazing.
I always put pals of mine in with their names in the book. Now,
do it.
What I was going to say is this: is either I'm channeling my inner Ernest Hemingway, or I'm auditioning to be the new Captain Birdseye. I haven't decided which yet. Welcome to Men's Radio Station, going at you live across Twitter, across Facebook, and of course on our YouTube channel. And if you do watch us on our YouTube channel, please, as they say in America, smash the subscribe button. I'd be ever so grateful. It takes you 10 seconds and it means the world to us. The only way I know that it's Thursday is because it is the ABC of CBD with the extraordinary fellow that is Ollie Mammon. This is week 22.
23.
Unbelievable. This is week 23. They said it wouldn't last. So fabulous. I'm so excited. I absolutely love this show. I always say I'm just a passenger. I'm here to learn. The last 23 weeks have been like the University of Life. Barry J. Allen, you'll save every one of us. Good evening to you both. And ciao, mate, from Francesco Mara. Feel free to comment on the other radio show. We read the comments out straight away. You don't have to go through production people and they edit it all. You know, it's all live. If you've got any questions for Ollie, you write them up. Boom, we're out off to the races. Speaking of which, without further ado, Mr. Oliver Mammon.
Thank you for joining us on week 23. Oh my God, it's been awesome. Really enjoyed it. Like the last few weeks have been incredible. Over the last few weeks, we've focused on hemp cultivation, cannabis cultivation, bringing extracts and bringing cannabis products to the UK market. As we've seen from everyone, it's basically impossible to grow and cultivate and extract in the UK. You're allowed to grow, okay, and you're allowed to use basically every byproduct extracted from hemp, but you're not actually allowed to do the middle part. So we rely on countries like America. We rely on areas in Europe which have different laws, and it's been an interesting time. Now, before I actually get into this, let's have a quick word from our sponsors, because if not, just not going to do it. So we might as well just do it. And then I'll give my introduction, and we'll bring out the guest. But we've got an awesome show today, and we've got this guy who sounds just like Ronan Keating, which is awesome. Anyway, play the advert. I'm sure you've heard before that good quality CBD needs to be really, really expensive. This is the new view of CBD, a product created by users for users, a product at an affordable price, available everywhere at any time at the simple click of a button. Just CBD and MCT oil, no additives, no preservatives, and no flavor enhancers. It's a simple subscription-based service, the cleanest possible CBD delivered to your door for the lowest possible price. Your product, your rights for the lowest possible price.
Love that advert.
Every week. We're going to bring the advert soon. I know. How cool is that? We filmed a COVID-friendly advert. It's going to be awesome.
Love anyway. Hi, James. Thank you for that. Hope you smash it both. Bless you. Appreciate it. Thanks very much. Okie dokie.
So basically, like I was saying, over the last few weeks, we've really focused on growing and cultivating and extracting cannabinoids, mainly CBD, the access we have to them in the UK, and the limitations around and the restrictions around growing and cultivating in the UK, and the restrictions around producing cannabinoids. It's just a crazy market we have here. So as a market, we rely on other countries around the world, America being one of the main ones. Last week, we had Chris Stubbs from Jen Kenner, who came on and basically he gave us an incredible show. If you haven't watched that, I suggest you go back and watch it.
Absolutely fabulous.
It was such a good show, and that dude was incredible.
He was amazing. By the way, any of these shows you think, I'm really fancy looking at that, or what have I missed? Just go onto the Men's Radio Station YouTube channel. Everything is there. I mean, everything.
Every single one. And listen, if you guys are looking for an education or you're looking for something specific, I mean, we've had shows on absolutely every topic, and they're going to keep on coming. So use the YouTube channel as almost your ABC of CBD library. Okay, everything's marked up.
Nicely done.
Yeah, I like that. So basically,
I like that a lot.
We're joined today by Irish hemp farmer Ed Hanbridge. Hanbidge. Okay, all right, so Hanbidge. All right. Now Ed has been a hemp farmer for the last 5 or 6 years. He's actually a 5th generation farmer. Now you're going to meet him. He's a very smart dude. Now, why I think he's a very smart dude is because he learns from all of his mistakes. Now, being new in this industry, and this industry being new around us, you know, we are the groundbreakers. We are the ones who make the errors in order to create the paths going forward. I've done it in product creation. I've wasted more money than I care to think about creating products which didn't work in order to create products which do. You know, Ed, like when we spoke earlier, was talking about, you know, the mistakes he's made and how valuable they are, because the mistakes he's made they've educated him to be what he is today. Now, he's based in Ireland. Ireland has slightly different rules. Now, to be honest with you, I don't really know many of them. I do know that Ireland has a strong agricultural history, and over the last few years, agriculture has kind of been removed. It used to be very involved in like the beet sugar market. And like now, over the last 20 years or so, like agriculture was removed, and tech has really become the prominent focus in Ireland. It's like become the main global market there. The main whatever GDP earner has been tech. So companies like Google and Facebook and Amazon and all of these large tech houses, they all seem to be based in Ireland. That seems to be the focus. Ed has this idea that hemp could be the crop which almost brings agriculture back to Ireland. There are a lot of farms which are not being used or not being used correctly. There are a lot of farmers who are struggling. Price of livestock and grazing has come down dramatically. And Ed was talking about how he believes hemp could be almost a unifying crop for farmers across Ireland. Now, he set up an organization which is like the Irish Hemp Cooperative, which is a cooperative of Irish hemp farmers who grow and work together in order to, you know, achieve their goals. He has an industrial play. He currently has 550 acres of land on which he farms on, and he produces his own hemp-based products. And I just want to kind of bring him out to start this conversation, because there's a lot more we're going to get from him than I'm going to be able to give you. And you know, the fact of the matter is he has rules which enable him to actually create CBD products, which is actually nice to hear, because there's somewhere in Europe that actually is allowing it. So if we can bring on the guest and we can start chatting. Hi, Ed.
How are you?
See,
hi. Thanks for having me on.
No?
If only I could sing like him.
But you sound just like a gorgeous voice. I love your accent. I love it. I wish I could speak with an accent.
Do you know who? I've got to say this. People must have said this. If you ever stop doing this as a job, go as a Chuck Norris lookalike.
That has been said, actually.
You look just like Chuck Norris. It's
oh my God, you're right.
I'm sitting here thinking, this is like superstar time. This is brilliant.
Yeah.
He looks like Walker, Texas Ranger.
I know, Chuck Norris. It's brilliant.
I don't do push-ups. I do earth downs.
That's right.
Sorry. You know what they say about Chuck Norris, don't you?
What?
You know, what's it called? Chuck Norris didn't dial the wrong phone number. You picked up the wrong phone.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, it's not a bad compliment, or I don't know whether it's a compliment, but I'll take it.
It is a compliment. He's one of the most successful people in America. So
he can literally kick crap out of everybody. All right, whether it's real or not. No, he can. This is a digression for 2 seconds. I'm so sorry, but no, it's for real. He was that good. It wasn't made up. He didn't get some stunt double. He was that. Enough of the Chuck Norris. Let's go. We didn't drag this all the way from the Emerald Isle. I could do this. I could chat about Chuck.
Yeah,
I like Chuck.
We could all do that, but it's called the ABC of CBD, not the ABC of Hollywood.
So let's talk about this, Ed. Straight away, how did you get into farming? So I know you're 5th generation. But how did you get involved?
So I've been farming since I've been knee high to a grasshopper. So I was literally brought up with it. I was brought down to the farm as a baby. There's stories where I disappeared and they went down to the yard and they found me there. And so I've been farming pretty much all my life.
Amazing.
Now I did take an interest in tech, in the computers, and I did go to college and I studied electronic engineering. And then when I left this, I kind of went back into farming again. So yeah. So I've
What
been
were you farming before? So like when you were a kid running down to the farm, disappearing in the middle of the night, terrifying your parents and being found curled up next to whatever, like what was your family farming back then?
Cattle and sheep. So we would have had
Cattle and sheep.
sucklers and sheep. So you see, our land is mostly we. My grandfather bought a mountain back in 1952, Cadine
As
Mountain.
you do, as you do.
As
Of
you
course.
do, yeah, yeah.
Who hasn't bought a mountain?
I'll
Blimey.
be honest with you. When he said
Yeah.
that, I've started Googling mountains for sale. They're not cheap. All right. I want to buy a mountain. I want to carve my face into the side of it, call it Mount Mamor or Mammon
Yeah.
or whatever I call it. Grow loads of stuff on there. It'll be fun as hell. Sorry, carry
Well,
on. So you have this
have you
mountain.
and have you heard of Finn McCool and the Giant's Causeway?
Yeah, of course.
Oh my God, Giant's
Yeah.
Causeway. I love that story. Is that near you?
Right. So no, but Finn McCool, when he was on his way to build the Giant's Causeway, halfway up, himself and his wife, they lay down on the side of the mountain to rest for the night. So and ever since, there's been an impression on the side of the mountain of a man and a woman, and it's you can see clearly, like from miles and miles, the shape of a man and a woman on the side of the mountain, and that's what the story goes, that on his way
and
to
you
build
own that mountain.
Yes.
So if anyone tells that story, they've got to pay you royalties or something. That's like it's like you own that.
Yeah, that part of the story is always left out. I don't know why. Yeah, but
Do you know, Ed, you could read the phone directory and everyone would be absolutely captivated. It's one of those, it's the little, it's a voice made for storytelling. That's all I've got to say.
No?
Well, I have a few stories to tell. Yeah, maybe someday I'll write a book about it.
Oh, well, yeah.
So when you send the email before, when you send the email before, and I was reading it, so I'd already spoken to you, and your words, I can hear your voice. So all you got to do is someone's got to meet you, then they can read your book, and they'll hear this beautiful Irish limerick voice just telling the story. Do you know what I mean? It's incredible.
Yeah,
like, incredible.
I'll do an audiobook.
Amazing. All right, let's get back onto the show.
Yes.
So
yes.
Yeah.
So usually my first question. Sorry, go.
Yeah, and so because of the mountain, like it's rough grazing, so like it's not for sowing any crops or anything. It's for sheep. So we have at the minute we have around 500 or 600 sheep that are lambing now at the minute. So it's all go on the farm at the minute, and we put all our sheep up onto the hill then for the summer. And I also have a traditional breed of cattle called Dexters. And those Dexters then go up onto the hill then as well. So they're a small breed. So they're miniature cows basically. So, but they're big. They're small cattle that think they're big cattle. They just have that temperament that you can lead them anywhere you like with a bucket of meal, but just don't try and drive them anywhere because they're on the.
I think you're describing my dog.
Yeah, well,
who is the size of a postage stamp and thinks it's a Rottweiler.
When the calves are born, well, they are small cattle now, but they're very nice meat actually, because they're really well marbled. They're actually classed as the sort of like Wagyu of the Northern Hemisphere, that the marbling is tip top. Yeah, so I would, if you haven't tried it, do.
Do the cows ever eat the hemp?
Yes. Yeah, so amazing. I did a trial there where I got some hemp seed and some barley that I grew, and I made a pellet with the barley and the hemp, and I fed it to both the cattle and the sheep, and definitely found that it helped with the milk production in the sheep, and with the cattle it definitely calmed them down, that they weren't as flighty. So I was well impressed. And the hemp seed the cake that we got tested is over 35% protein, which is savage in a meal. Like soya is maybe over 40, but it's not as digestible as the hemp. So in theory, going forward, if we were to grow our protein, we can grow it in Ireland or in England, and therefore, instead of having to import the soya from South America or the States or wherever, which there is a shortage of now, we could grow it ourselves, take in the carbon into the soil ourselves and sequester it, and feed our cattle and animals on that protein, which is more digestible, and therefore, in theory, they shouldn't produce as much methane.
If you go back in time,
extraordinary.
If you go back in time, like 150 years, what's it called? Hemp, cannabis sativa plants, they grew naturally everywhere. Cattle would have probably eaten it. I mean, there's studies to show that, 100 years ago, samples of milk and whatever had cannabinoids in them. They had active levels of cannabinoids because cattle would eat the hemp, and the hemp would pass through the system. And like you said, it's very highly digestible, and almost, a cow's stomach digests what it wants to digest and excretes what it doesn't want. And it basically wanted to digest the hemp. And that's pretty incredible. I only made it as a joke. I think that's kind of, you just blew my mind a little bit. Like,
well, I've also read a study where adding a sort of a 5% mix in with the silage for feeding your dairy cows, it'll increase the yield that those cows will produce an extra 1,000 liters a year.
Wow.
So like it's
what is that percentage? 1,000 on what? Is it like 1,000 on 1,000 or 1,000 on 50,000? So is it like a 2% increase or a 1,000% increase or 100% increase?
It would be over the year. I don't know exactly what your average region would produce per year, but you're looking at 20 liters a day anyway. So she'd be lactating for
6,000 liters a year, 7,000 liters a year. So it's like an extra 15%. That's not bad. 15% return.
Yeah, for 5% hemp in the silage. So like
for something which they can grow for free and feed to their cattle themselves. That's actually, I think you're onto something here. Wait, so hold on. So where do you have your hemp farm?
So the farm then is down on our what we call the lowland. Now it's probably 600 foot above sea level, but it's our lowland. The hill goes to 2,220 feet high. So
that's a hill.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
the hill.
Yeah.
No, my idea of a hill is I go
from
fourth gear to third gear. That's a hill. Not like that.
Yeah. And there are places now where it is like that it is steep. Wow. But we get a lot of climbers and things like that up. It's really nice now because it's just on the edge of all the Wicklow Mountains, so you can see for 7, 8 different counties from up there. It's
beautiful.
It's lovely.
No, I'm coming to visit. I'm coming.
Yeah.
I'm coming.
Ed, I have to tell you something, that one of the offshoots of the ABC of CBD on Men's radio station is that Ollie seems to get the greatest guests in the world. Every guest every week is a sensation. But all I'm doing is writing notes, because this is where Ollie and I are going on a road trip.
Yeah.
We're going to Kentucky. The other week was Kentucky, where we're going off to. Definitely going to rock up at your place because it sounds fantastic.
You own a mountain. Brilliant. I want to come and be like, you're on my mate's mountain, okay?
Yeah, so get off.
A little bit of madness.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
That's it, and we can go camping, and we can see the sights. You can see the cattle, feed the lambs, all of that, and then you can see the hemp farm. Yeah. Yeah.
So talking about hemp farms, that's why you're here. Let's actually talk about hemp farms, okay? Because we might as well. I don't know. We can talk about cattle, but might as well talk about hemp, unless you don't want to talk about hemp, and then we can talk about cattle.
I'll talk about whatever you want to talk about, Oliver.
So why did you choose to grow hemp? Because you've got this 5th generation family farm.
Yeah.
Like you said, hemp's been a new thing. When did you start getting into it? Why did you decide to grow hemp? And then we'll move into that conversation.
So when I was in college, one of the guys that I was living with was doing civil engineering. And he came home at the start. We were in our final year. So he came home and he says, one of the lads in my class is going to do his thesis on building an entire house out of hemp. And that just sparked an interest. And I was on to Google. I was just started from there, researching it and finding out as much as I could, because I knew I had the land at home and, it's there. I could do something different. And that's where it all really came from, was that one comment that you can build an entire house out of this plant. And that's where it started. So the first crop that I ever put in was in 2015. And it was a crop of Bielobroski. I can't even pronounce it properly. It's the Polish variety that I got from the Polish Institute. So that was the first crop that I sowed, and it grew to 12 foot high. And It was really good. It was good and thick. It was everything that you would expect a hemp crop to be. And
What
so that
sort
was
of
the first.
area was it, Ed? What sort of area was
Oh,
this?
only small.
Cover?
I only did 7 acres that year. So it was only a small patch just to try it and see how I got on. And I got on great with the growing. But from then, it was just got a little bit more difficult then. The cutting of it was simple. I used a finger bar and you just drive it along and the thing fell over, no problem. Baling it was an issue. Really long stalks. Balers don't like really long stalks, and it got lapped up in the pickup and didn't. We got 60 bales done and then it was full. We had to clear out the whole thing. That's a big enough job in itself. And then 60 more bales. So off of the 7 acres, I got 120 bales.
What does that even mean?
Assume we
I
know
would,
nothing and you won't go wrong.
No, he knows I know nothing. I already told him I know nothing. I
I know
introduced the
less
show
than,
saying
and
I know
less
nothing.
than you.
He's the teacher who's here to teach us, and he's leaving us untaught. So help us, Edward. Help us understand.
So the bales were about 150 kilos a piece. So I would have got over 2 ton of fiber to the acre.
Amazing.
So that was it's okay. It's okay.
And what were you growing that for? As in, what was the purpose of every single crop? Because, this is one thing which we've learned.
Yeah.
Every single crop is grown for a different reason. Every single harvest is grown for a different reason. If you want the shiv, you want a big, tall, straggly plant, it's one genetic. If you want to grow CBD, you want a more tightly conformed plant, like the people in America are growing plants with higher yielding flowers, lower yielding stems, in order to produce a higher quality CBD extract and a cleaner CBD extract. They're allowed to work with that. If you want to do like a biofuel, I'm sure you need something in order to create a hemp carbon. You need a longer stem inside the shiv. So I assume it's a different genetics. That's just my assumption, is that genetics play a massive part. So I mean, definitely. I assume your first crop was a little bit like let's just see, and you weren't really thinking about what to grow. But
I was a little bit naive. All right, I was a little bit naive. Yeah, I was expecting that if I grow it, it'll be sold. Now I did get it sold in the end, but not. It took me sort of 6 months or a year to sort of get it sold. It went for a building in the end. So it was initially, the idea of it was to go for shiv for building. So I talked to a guy. He said, "Yeah, I'll take that off you, no problem whatsoever." So I was just about to start harvesting it, and I rang him and said, "Yeah, I'm going to cut this here now. How will I get it down to you, or what way will it work?" And he says, "Well, have you got it in 25 kilo bags?" What? How am I going to do that? And he said, "Have you got it chopped up? Have you got it separated? Have you got it here?" No, I have a bale of hemp. And he was here, right? Okay, I won't be able to take that. So a little bit more research and a little bit more digging, and I found a buyer, and he was able to take it off me, chop it up, and it has so far it has built a house and a half, I think.
Incredible.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So
wow.
So that was your first harvest, right?
That was the first crop, yeah. So after that, then I did do another couple of fiber crops, just as another sort of to test the water, see what we can do, getting the license applications in, and sort of building up a relationship with them. And but since I'm now focusing on the food side of things. So it's all for seed now that I'm looking at. The fiber market hasn't really opened up in Ireland enough yet. That the machinery, the big expensive machinery for your decorticator isn't there. Now there is talk of it, and which is great, but it's not there at the minute. So I have a small little tiny decorticator. It was a research one that came out of the research centre in Northern Ireland actually, and it'll do a certain amount, but it's a Mickey Mouse kind of a toy.
It's not industrial. So this is one thing which is actually quite interesting. So I mean, if you look at the hemp market in America, one thing I've seen over the last few years, so basically around 5 years ago, everyone basically started jumping on this bandwagon of growing hemp. Everyone wanted to produce hemp for CBD. And what happens is then you had maybe 15 or 20 of these extraction houses which opened up. The issue is these extraction houses are built to handle hundreds and hundreds of tons, which means they're only active for very short periods. They'll be active for like 3 months, from October till January or October till December. Do you know what I mean? Like very, very short periods of time. The rest of the year, there's no real harvest because they've been built to kind of do those monster runs. They've been built to almost take 100 tons at a time. The issue is a lot of these extraction houses, they can't afford to keep their doors open because the expenses of running one of these places, you know, you just put 50 million quid's worth of equipment in there. You got to keep that shit under lock and key and guard and make sure that, you know, no one's going to come and basically burn down your investment or, you know, steal it from you. So it's a strange one. So what I've heard a lot of these extraction houses were opened, invested heavily into, and now they've closed. So because you only need one extraction house, which is operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in order to basically extract all of the hemp in the world anyway, because it can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just load after load after load after load. You know, you don't need a million of these facilities, but you do need one. It is necessary. Yeah. Hopefully your hemp cooperative can get that done.
Yeah. My take on things is I would like to see it a little bit more small scale, a little bit more community based. Don't have them so big, just have them big enough that within a sort of a catchment area, people will bring their material to that sort of a hemp hub, and that they would sort of run it, keep it going, and sort of everyone in that community sort of benefits from it. Now, that's in an ideal world. Generally, the big industrial size things is the way that they'll go, and then you're looking at millions of euros. So you have to have millions or thousands of acres to make them work. I think for certain products, hemp on a small scale, cottage industry will work. Like our oil press, it's cottage industry. Like we're small. Like we're only doing a couple of ton a year. But it's to get it to a stage where I'm able to get a livelihood out of it. One for me, one for my brother.
The market doesn't need more though, does it? Because that, like having been in the market for a few years, you know, like we run quite a boutique operation. Don't get me wrong. If you come to us with an order of 6,000 units, we have the CMOs in order to get them mass manufactured. We can write our SOPs and write our recipes and send them off and make sure that they're manufactured correctly. But most of what we do is like small batch infusion, because, you know, everyone wants, the market's not there yet. People are still buying 100, 200, 300 units at a time of different SKUs. You know, it's not at that point yet where there is millions and millions and millions of people consuming millions of products on a daily basis. And like this whole hemp uptick, you know, it's a slow one. It doesn't, you know, it's not booming yet. And the problem is a lot of people outside the industry think that, you know, these £1 million facilities are needed today. They're not, unfortunately, and you won't actually be able to facilitate it. You'll probably have to waste the 50 grand to buy the small one, then waste another 100 grand to go up a little bit, waste another 100 grand to go up a little bit, and then throw all that stuff away and go for the £1 million unit in 10 years time. But it's a strange one, because I also look at the market. I'm like, it's really not it's not there yet, you know, it's on its way. And that's why we're doing a good job with this education, because, you know, it's the right time to educate people. You know, sometimes it's too late to teach someone something, but at the start of a journey, you know, when you've just set off, you're in primary school, it's the best time to teach people stuff. Once you've left uni, no one wants to learn anything anymore. And the thing is, we're not there yet. We're still at that 3-4-year-old age gap where we're all still toddlers. We're all still impressionable. And, you know, it's why it's incredible, all the mistakes you've made, which we're going to get onto, by the way. The fact that you bailed all your crop without separating it, mistake number one. You won't do that again.
Well, I didn't, I didn't even read it properly the first year. Like, you know, like there's so many things that you have to learn.
For the uninitiated, hello.
Yes.
The baling, what, you know, I know nothing about this apart from occasionally listening to the archers. So what was the problem with the baling? Why is that a huge mistake?
Because on the pickup of the baler, you have tines. So they're like little forks that are picking it up. Generally, they're dealing with barley or oat and straw, which is only maybe 2 to 3 foot in length. And you see, they don't have a cam. So as it comes around, a cam will make it disappear for it to slide off. But the pickup we were using didn't have a cam, so those tines were just spinning around, throwing it into the baler. But the stalk was getting caught on those tines.
Got it.
And then it was building up, and then it got to a stage where it couldn't turn it off. So it was
but
stuck.
You're an engineer, so why can't you just go there and refix your machine? Go out to the bar, build a new part for it. No, seriously, that's what you have to do, isn't it?
It really is. So the next thing to do now is to start, instead of having like little tines, you have paddles. And then in those paddles, then we'll throw it into the baler without it getting caught up.
Without
So
getting crushed and ripped to shreds.
we have found that
Very smart.
anything that spins round and round with hemp, you want to try and avoid it. Hemp can be cut, but it's really hard to break. That's what we have found so far, that it's just the strength of it is just unreal. They say that it's inch for inch as strong as steel, and I would well believe it, because when we were trying to free that baler, it wasn't just in with a Stanley knife trying to cut it or anything. We actually had to go in with the angle grinder to cut that hemp to get it
Whoa.
off the cylinder, off the bands. Like, it was
But
just
it's also
unreal.
quite. I assume it's resinous as well. It's not like you're not dealing with you're dealing with a crop which is like 30% oil, so it's got that resiny sort of elasticy. I can only assume it's like rubbery sort of just unbreakable consistency.
No, because you have to let that dry. So when you're bringing that in for the next stage, for the next process, most of the decorticators only need to deal with a sort of a 17%. So when you cut that, you need to let that hemp dry in the field, but you also need to let it rest. And that was the first mistake I made, that I didn't let it rest. So the retting is the constant. The dew retting is where it gets wet and dry, wet and dry, wet and dry, wet and dry, and that breaks down the glues and the lignin in the plant to allow those fibers to break away from the sheaf. So then it's dry, and as it's coming in dry, then it's a sort of, you can snap it and it's brittle kind of. So it leaves the fibers come away really easily. So that's the sort of, but the oils off of the seed, they're an oil seed, so there's your sort of oily material, all right. And I have had issues with that too.
Have you changed your crop now? Are you still growing that original Polish crop, or are you growing something new now?
Oh, I'm growing finola. So the finola is from Finland, and it's for seed for oil. So it has a small little seed, and it's ideal for the pressing of the oil.
So what sort of yield do you get? Like, just to put things into, because once again we're talking about all of these things, but I would love to quantify. So let's say you have an acre. From an acre, how much hemp oil can you yield?
So you would
200 tons of plant.
You will get roughly about 450 kilos of hemp seed, dry and clean hemp seed, off of an acre. And then out of that, out of 1 ton of seed, you will get 300 liters of oil.
It's not bad, 30%.
No, it's not
bad at all.
So, no. So out of an acre, then, like, you're getting 300 and nearly 400 liters.
Fine. And how many acres of hemp do you grow?
Last year we did 20. The year before we did 40. This year now we are trying to get over 100.
Amazing.
Wow.
Go on, Russ. You asking a question?
I was going to say, I've got a few questions actually. Number one, Ollie's guests in the past have always said that growing this crop is fantastic for the soil. That you can take contaminated, virtually toxic soil, put this in, and naturally it cleans the soil. Which did you find all that as well?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So after that first crop of the Bobby Orosky, I went then for a field of oats and barley. Because I'm organic, I was growing a sort of a dual crop. So I was doing oats and barley. And I was told, okay, well, be expected, you're organic. You're only going to get 1.5 tons because you're not putting on the right nitrogen and the P's and K's and that. And I said, right, okay. Well, when we got it in, we got it dried and stored, we had over 2.5 tons to the acre. So I'm assuming that what the hemp does is, because of the tap root that it is, it gets down and it'll aerate the soil. And getting air into your soil is good. And there's also capillary roots on it then as well that allow those capillary roots to go down, and they'll go down deep, like looking for water, and that you can get them up to sort of 1.5 meters down in the ground. And they're the ones that sort of the different levels of the roots will actually sort of use the minerals and nutrients from the different parts of the soil, and they will actually bring it up. And then as the plant is growing, all the vegetation and the leaves, the fan leaves, they do all fall off. So you're putting organic matter back into the ground, and it's just there. It'll be there for the next time. And like there's a certain amount of it will be there because it's cellulose then as well, the stalk. The worms seem to love it, that I have seen the worm activity increase. And if you have good vermiculture there, you
Incredible.
have good, like the worm castings are unbelievable. Like it's great. You also have great biodiversity with the birds. You see a lot more birds around, because especially the small birds, because they're able to land on the plant and they're able to pick it and it doesn't fall over. Whereas the crows and the pigeons, that I don't like, when they land on it, it'll fall over. So you don't see those. You see the little birds. And it's nice to see all those little birds as well.
Almost magic, isn't it?
He's like created his own little ecosystem. I
think it's called I think it's called Walt Disney Farm.
See, now, I've heard. Sorry, go on, Russ. I'll go into my
next
point
question with this. So you've grown all the oil. What are the main? I mean, don't give me their names, but what uses do your customers? What's the main use that it goes out for when you've got this oil?
Well, the main use is actually for muscle pain and for arthritis and things like that, because it's really high in omegas, and the omegas, the 3, 6, and 9, they're there. It's a perfect ratio and balance. And one of the omega-6s is GLA, which is gamma-leonic acid. And that gamma-leonic acid is a natural anti-inflammatory. So when those guys that have the rheumatoid arthritis and the various pains, and it's the omegas that's really helping with them, and that GLA, that it's actually reducing the inflammation, and it's inflammation that causes the most amount of pain. So it's helping with pain and things like that. My clientele at the minute are mostly of the older generation, believe it or not. The ones that you would expect would be no, not going near that cannabis stuff. They're the ones that are getting the most benefit and are willing to try it. Young people, I suppose, they're still happy with going with, I don't know.
Well, they go. It's interesting. I mean, I have to say, Ed, that we'll gloss over that. Ed, Ollie has converted me, because I came into this knowing absolutely the square root of nothing, and it's been a huge education for me. And Ollie's prepared tinctures for me, and when my dog was extremely ill and I thought I was going to lose her, which would be like a disaster for me, he's made some special stuff. I've been popping in her food. She's like a puppy. I'm not kidding.
Right?
I mean, she's like a blooming puppy.
Do you know what's happened with my dog? Do you know what's happened with my dog over the last month? Over the last month, okay, I give my dog the same thing I give Russ's dog. Slightly different amounts. I told Russ a couple of drops a day. My dog's a bit bigger, so I give him quite a lot. I give him like 9-10 drops at a time. I took him to the vet around 3 weeks ago. He's changed. He can't run up the stairs anymore. He's been having massive hip issues. I took him to the vet, and the vet's like, look, I don't know what it is, but I think that the problem, we're going to start giving him these injections. I was like, look, there's no way in hell you're injecting these things into my dog. Started giving him CBD. Okay, we gave him some anti-inflammatories as well for a course, and now over the last 2-3 weeks, just CBD. I mean, he's running, he's skipping, jumping up on the couch, absolutely fine. Took him to the vet. They're like, he definitely doesn't have hip dysplasia, and whatever he had, he's recovered. And it's just like mental.
I know, it's
mental.
People do love their dogs, and people look after their dogs, and it's one of the markets now that I sort of hopefully will be tapping into. That your protein. If you can make a protein-based dog treat, you're laughing, because that's another thing. You've got all of these vegan humans now who are trying to make their dogs go vegan, which is ridiculous, because dogs are in the wild would rip other dogs to shreds, and they would love it because that's what dogs do. Okay, dogs are vicious creatures, think of a coyote and a wolf, that's what they are. So I always think it's a little bit mental, but I mean, whatever, loads of people turning their dogs vegan. And to be honest with you, dogs like hemp, like my dog loves hemp, and my dog actually also, he got into my hemp protein once, and he loves it. Like he loves it. I put drops of CBD on the floor. Like if I wanted to follow me, I'll just put drops of CBD and he'll just follow me. It's like literally he loves it. Well, I'm hopefully now there's a guy in the same county, in County Wicklow, is hopefully coming out with a new dog food supplement. So it'll be a supplement that you give daily to your dog, and it'll have CBD made from the CBD cake from producing the CBD oil that we produce. So, yep, hopefully
Well,
we'll
listen,
have that.
your
This
cows, our dogs. I mean, like, I want to see. I want to
it,
see
it,
other animals. Maybe
it's
that's why
Yeah,
crocodiles are so
chickens,
angry all the
chickens,
time because
and
they haven't got CBD.
the next trial I'm doing now is to get a go of chickens and to start feeding the hemp to chickens, and then you'll have high omega eggs. So that's the
Oh,
next.
incredible,
God,
That's the
incredible.
that
next
is
plan.
so clever.
I want to try your
That
milk.
is really clever.
I want to try your
Hmm.
hemp-fed milk. That's what I'm dying to
Yeah,
try.
yeah,
Dying
yeah,
to
yeah,
try hemp-fed milk. Imagine
Now,
that CBD milk, fresh
yeah.
from the
It'd be
udder.
class. Yeah,
hmm, now,
nothing
Ed,
Incredible,
more.
this brings me on to my
incredible.
favourite subject in this show, uh, and it's Ollie who's introduced me to all of this. I take no credit for it whatsoever, and it's this that I've been stunned by the guests we've had on, and you are tip top, if I may say so.
He's awesome, right?
Phenomenal. But the guests have come on who've been dealing with illnesses, especially with their children, with babies, with little children. And we had another guest on who was 81, who was told he was going to
Hmm.
die. What's the attitude in Ireland, where you are in County Wicklow, and generally towards the medical profession, if you like, and using alternatives like CBD?
Slow on the uptake. Like the medical profession, they are slow on the uptake.
Yeah.
Now, but I'm hearing more and more stories of doctors that are recommending to take CBD. That I have people coming to me and it's like their doctor told them go and get CBD because it will help with what you have. And he has oh it's a skin condition. I can't remember. I'll tell you one of the best stories that I've heard lately. Have you heard of the condition called ataxia?
No.
Ataxia is a sort of a condition that you don't have your balance, and
Right.
it
Like
can kind
vertigo,
of yeah, something similar as far as I can see it.
imbalance
But
of liquids in the air.
I know that this woman anyway, she would lose her balance. She wouldn't be able to walk 100 yards without holding onto somebody or
Mm,
something, and she sort of the muscles in her face are just like real relaxed or something that kind of nearly looks drunk. But
mm.
uh, this woman got our oil by chance. It was one of her friends had it. She took the oil at 2 o'clock one day. And she said at 5 o'clock that evening, she was out walking. And she said she went for a 3 kilometer walk because she hadn't done that in months and months and months that she was able to walk. She continued taking the oil. And she said within 3 days, she was able to go for a 7 kilometer walk up a hill. And she said she's got her life back because she's able to walk
Fantastic.
unaided. And all the doctors had done for her was send out a social worker to kit out the house with the bars and the ramps and things like that.
So let's
And
wait.
she was told you'd have to get a Zimmer frame.
Oh,
You
wow.
actually create CBD oils, don't you? You actually extract CBD oils in Ireland.
Yeah, yeah.
I want
So
us to
that's what
talk
we're
about this a
doing.
little bit because
Yeah. Okay.
most people we've spoken to, and most of the farmers we've spoken to, except for Chris last week, are not actually allowed to extract. So Jamie Bartley said about how he's limited. Everyone's heard stories of like what happened to Hemp, who had their license revoked a couple of years ago. I think they got it back now. Fingers crossed. They're a great farm, but they just got in trouble for a mistake, you know. And there's
Yeah.
a few other companies out there who have, you know, they've I know had someone come down to the field and seen a crop which shouldn't have been growing because these mutations can happen, and they've had their licenses revoked. And you know, like so, growing and producing extracts in the UK and producing CBD oils is like is like very highly governed and illegal. But you were saying that in Ireland, where you are, you're kind of it's like a free market. You're almost allowed to do it, or it's a grey area. I don't really.
Yeah.
You say it best. Sorry.
Okay. Right. Well, I'll start at the beginning. So, to get a license to grow hemp, you apply to the HPRA, which is the Health Product Regulatory Authority. You get the application from them, and you send them the application. They go through it. It's rubber stamped then by the Department of Health. Then when you get it out to the field, you are then you sow it, and the Department of Agriculture will come out and they will do a test on it. So they'll test it for the THC. Very simple test, and they only do about 40% of the fields every year. So you may or may not be selected this year.
Did you get selected?
I didn't last year, but my brother and my dad did. I was the year before, and he says, "No, we did you last year. It's okay. You don't have to be done this year."
Amazing.
And now I actually wanted them to do it because I want them to test it for. They only test for the THC, and they won't test for the CBD. And I've asked them to, but they won't.
Do a free test for me, please.
Yeah.
Save £100.
Yes, exactly. But they won't. But the so then our oils, then your facility has to be inspected then by the HSE, which is the Health Service Executive, and your local health officer comes out, she checks your facility, makes sure it's all good, and you have to be then FSAI compliant, which is the Food Safety Authority of Ireland. So you have to comply with all of their regulations, and so the grey area really lies in all of those people not really talking to each other, and some allowing some things and some not knowing others. So what we do is we grow the crop and we harvest it on the farm. So our farm land is around where the facility is. So we harvest the flowers, we bring them in and we dry them. And then before we use them, we mill them to destroy them, because part of the application is how are you going to destroy your crop. So I mill it. Then I use it then I put it through a cold press, screw press, and it's mixed with the flour. Then is mixed with seed. The oils in the seed act as the carrier to drag out the cannabinoids as it goes through the press. And once we do the testing on it then, and as long as our THC is not above 0.1 milligrams per day, we're okay. So our oil, because it is there is THC in it, like it has THC, so we can actually say that we are full spectrum, not just broad spectrum. We're full spectrum. We have the THC. It's there. Whatever was in the plant ends up in our oil, and we have there's 2 milligrams of THC per milliliter. So that's technically it's
0.2%, just to let everybody know in terms of mathematics.
Yeah. So now I have to tell people on my label, the rules and regulations.
How much CBD is in there?
There's 750 milligrams in.
No, but per mil. How many? Is
25.
It also like 25. So you've got basically like a 10 to 1, a 12 to 1.
Yeah.
It's a good product. It's incredible that that's legal in Ireland. It's incredible. You guys are so lucky in Ireland. The fact that you can have a like a legal 10 to 1, which is a full plant extract. I mean, this is what patients are dying for, man. Literally.
Exactly. That they like all of those cannabinoids work together. And
it's just kind of incredible that you're legally allowed to do that, and you're a 15-minute boat ride away. Do you know what I mean? It just seems a little bit. You're a 15-minute boat ride away. You used to be part of us. Now you're theoretically part of Europe, but you're your own little country. Do you know what I mean? And you're legally allowed to do that. But if you did this in Northern Ireland, they'll cut your face off, which is mental. So I mean, like it's just, but it's good to know though that this is happening. You know, like 100 miles away. Do you understand what I mean? 100 miles off our coast, this is happening. It's kind of good to know. It's like it shows that there could be an opportunity for hemp farmers in the UK to potentially have access to do something similar and provide an end product to users who can rely on it and depend on it. Exactly.
And like we're also just looking for markets as well. Like that, if there's a market in the UK for that product, that's what we're trying to do, is to get it out there, get it to those people. And the same for all the other farmers in Ireland, like that will start producing. It's a simple way of producing it. Yes, it's a little bit low in CBD, but I mean, that's only until we get the right crops and we're allowed to grow the higher strains of CBD. Like once we can grow ACDC or cherry wine, any of those kind of varieties, that percentage is going to go up. The cold press still doesn't come in under the novel food license because you're not using an aqueous method of extraction. It's been there since God's time, so it doesn't come under that. And in fairness, I have to say and commend all of the the HPRA, very, very helpful. The FSAI has had the farmers and the producers backs in Europe, and the head guy Pahamatni, he's a really, really great guy. So we're lucky to have him. And my HSE, my local health inspector, has been nothing but helpful. She's like, I have to say that it's been a pleasure actually trying to get a product to the.
You're
to
so lucky. You're so lucky. And to be honest with you, it's really beautiful. I mean, how nice is that to actually meet a farmer involved in the industry who actually like how beautiful. I mean, like he actually loves the people who are almost governing him, you know, because I wrote this down because it's one thing we didn't discuss. So, are you completely unregulated? Because what it sounds like you almost have this free market economy, which is like quite nice, you know. But the fact that you're even being governed and you're being, you know, by numerous bodies, okay, who you're actually in communication with, and there's a relationship. I mean, this is what farmers need. You know, this is what agriculture used to be like. You know, like they like I kind of feel really, really, really bad for Jamie Bartley and all of his buddies because I'm literally just like this poor Jamie. I felt bad for Jamie before, but I feel so bad for him now.
Yeah,
the luck of the Irish.
That's it. And even the Organic Trust, which is the governing body of the organics, they have been really helpful and supportive with hemp industry as well. So like we are lucky. We are now. Maybe it's to do with how small we are, really, that everybody knows everybody. I don't know, but it's certainly. We have got there. Like if I, just a normal average Joe farmer, can do this and get a product to shelf, which I will have to say, I do commend anybody who has any product on a shelf, that it's not as simple as just, I'm going to have a product on the shelf.
It's the hardest thing in the world.
It is hard.
It's so difficult. I mean, like it really is. Compliance, especially in this industry. I mean, like how many mistakes do we learn and how much money do we waste on packaging it right to get it's not right in that? You can't put this on the shelf because it needs to have one extra logo or one extra label or one extra this or a different type of barcoding system. I mean, it's really hard. It's not easy. It's not easy. I just kind of like the fact that your laws around you enable it to kind of happen and our laws around us prohibit it. You know, I don't like the fact that our laws prohibit it, but I like the fact that your laws enable it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, we have found a way to make it work. So like it's continuing to work until, even though our Gardaí have a zero tolerance on THC. So like there is still that issue there, that there is that zero tolerance, and this is where some of the shops that have the hemp flower, they are running into trouble, and like there is different coffee shops and stuff that are having issues because they're selling smokable flower. And the guards will come in and say, look, there's THC in it, because they do a test. It's either a yes or no answer, and it's going to have THC, so then they take it. You know, so we do still need to move on. We still need to get some of the laws changed and some of the lacunas changed. There's issues there where you can grow a crop, but yet you can't sell it. So that's what you call a lacuna. We need to get that sorted. We need to get the Gardaí that they're allowing a certain amount of THC. I'd like to see the FSAI go a little bit higher, but it's still workable. I'd like to, it's all, we have found a way of doing it, but there is still plenty of room for improvement.
And what do you find about the people? Has the people's uptake been good to other farmers? Like, have other farmers come around to the idea of growing hemp, and not hemp for, like, so I understand hemp for, a lot of people have this separation. There's hemp for industrial and there's hemp for medicinal. And hemp for industrial is fine, but hemp for medicinal, don't want to get involved in that. Or vice versa. You know, I was wondering, have you seen that? Like someone's going, I'll do it as long as you use it for bricks. If it gets anyone medicine, I don't want anything to do it. Have you had that sort of opposition?
Yeah, I have. I've had all sorts of scenarios. So there is plenty of guys coming and they have an idea in their head. I want to grow the hemp to make this. And I said, yeah, you can absolutely do it. And I've always said it, that in order to grow the hemp, you need to know what your end product is first. So it's much easier to work your way backwards. So to start at the beginning, you need to work your way backwards. And then you can, so I have had that. I've had guys that I don't want to go near the whole cannabis stuff. I've had guys that I want to grow hemp to make industrial stuff. And I've had guys that they don't care. They'll grow whatever will actually make money. So like you have all sorts. And I will say that the hemp isn't something that you're going to become a millionaire overnight. It's not. It's
Oh,
like I said, making mistakes, but we are getting to a stage where we're starting to find the markets. And like I have a market now for over 200 ton of seed. So like I need a sort of 400 or 500 acres of hemp seed, and I know of a market now for 5,000 ton of hemp. So like it's starting. It's and like I've
yeah.
heard of a paper mill that's going to be built. I've heard of different manufacturing companies now are looking at it to change from what they're doing to start using hemp, and it's all great. It's you can just about feel the ball starting to roll. You know, getting it going is always the hardest part, and I feel that
Always.
we've always. I feel like we've got that ball moving a little bit. We just need to keep it going now and gain momentum and push it down the hill.
Of
So
course, Ed, the point is, they always say it's like pushing a rock up a mountain, isn't it? Then you get to the
Yeah.
top, it falls down. It's helpful when you happen to own that mountain.
Yeah, it is. It
Right.
is. It is.
That,
And you get to choose the rock.
that's your
Yeah.
rock, it's your mountain, what the heck.
Yeah.
It's really very interesting.
it's
Going,
incredible.
it's your attitude is just tremendous. You have such a zest, you know, and clearly a love for this thing, and
Yeah.
and, and it's also just to back up what Ollie was saying. You know, when we've been interviewing and chatting to various farmers, and you are without doubt the first one to say, yes, I really like the people who are the administrators of this, who are
Mm.
working together as opposed to, oh, you can't do this, no, can't do that, because that really helps nobody.
We've had
Yeah.
Ultimately,
Yeah.
it helps
It
nobody.
I find that when you go and deal with these people, that don't go to them with the attitude that you're trying to stop this now and that's wrong. Go to them sort of and I don't know, talk to them like I'm talking to you guys. And they're people too, and they seem to react better. That when you're easy going with them and you tell them, you be honest, tell them what you're trying to do,
Mhm.
and ask for their help rather than make accusations that you're trying to stop me doing this. I find that, like they say, it's always easier to catch flies with honey than with vinegar. So
no, of
It
I,
course.
is.
I use as much honey as I can.
I,
It's very smart.
Yeah.
Very
I'm not
smart.
finding that surprising over the past hour, to be honest with you. At all. But it's true, though. It's like with anything in life. If you go in
Yeah,
with a very aggressive attitude to start, people will always try and find a way to stop you because you've
you do.
hacked them off,
Of
and
Yeah,
course.
that's the
that is
truth.
it.
That's the absolute
That is it.
truth.
But it seems to have a bit more camaraderie over there. There just seems to be like he's not saying that he's the special one. Do you know what I mean? Like his brother and his father are going through the same thing, and like the rules just seem to be a bit more. I don't know, allowing. I think that's probably the best way. Accepting.
Yeah,
I don't really like. I don't want to say non-existent because you are being governed. Do you know
we
what I mean?
are. We
So
are.
that's
We are. We
another
are
thing.
definitely being
Like
governed.
that's it. You're definitely being governed. So there are definitely rules. They just seem to be a bit more allowing, which is kind of nice.
Yeah,
I
yeah, and
think it's
I
good.
do find that. Yeah, I do find that they are allowing and that they are helpful, and that it is. I mean, it keeps you going. That you're not going to get. Certainly, there are a certain amount of roadblocks that we've had to come across. But once a lot of these barriers that you come across, they always seem a lot worse than they actually are. That when you get down to it and you break it down, you will find a way around them. And it's maybe it's the same in England, that, or maybe it's not. Maybe they're better at writing these hurdles than they are in Ireland. But I've always been able to find some way around them anyway, and work
I
with
think
what I
I think
have.
there's too much control here. I think there's a bigger plan in the hands of few people here, and that's why there's control. Whereas I feel like you guys are in this European sort of free world because Europe has a lot of freedom-based rules around cannabis anyway. It really does. It has a lot more freedom around the plant than we do.
Now,
So
before we vamoose, just want to say Veronica Curran, thank you very much. Brilliant show, guys. Very interesting. Thank you, Veronica. Angela Lee, good evening. Good evening to you, Angela Lee.
hey,
Hopefully see you
Angela.
tomorrow on The Daily Show. Sandra Brady, we are watching. Well, we're watching you, Sandra. We're watching you. Francesca Mara, thank you for all your comments as well. And Nathan Wogman, good evening to you as well. I just wanted to get that because everyone's been kind enough to comment. I got to say that, Ed, you've been a fantastic
guest.
guest yet again. Ollie Mammon has pulled it out of the bag with just, the
I find good
tip-top
people.
Tip-top
Thank-
guest. Thank you so much. May we at Men's Radio Station wish you all the very best in County Wicklow, and one day Ollie and I will come and see your mountain. That's going to be on
Do.
my
And
to-do list.
I want to send you over some of the oil so that you can
yes.
try it.
Yes,
And
please.
yeah,
See you
Perfect.
next week.
both the hemp seed
Bye-bye.
oil and the CBD oil.
Show's done.
We gotta go. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Nice.